So welcome to the JB Media Digital Drop-In. Our topic for today is going to focus on change is inevitable. And really what we're going to talk about is social media and how even in just the first 6 months of 2019, we've seen some major things developing, big changes happening, even controversies still happening, spilling over from last year. And so really we're going to have a conversation today about what those changes have been, where we see the trends going. And I want to invite all of you as we have this conversation to feel free to chat in questions that you have about what we're talking about, and to just share your thoughts and ideas as well. If you have something you want to share with the rest of us about the changes that you see happening, please let us know, because I think in social media, there's actually no way for one single person to actually know all the changes that are happening. Definitely. It's literally like we have to come together as colleagues and people that are working in the field, as marketers, as business owners, and all have this conversation. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to be aware of all the shifts and all the evolutions that are occurring. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sarah Benoit. I'm the lead instructor of the JB Media Institute, and we do a free digital drop-in every month, and basically you'll get a copy of this recording along with a copy of the slides that we're sharing today. And if you like what you hear today and you're interested in exploring more opportunities with the JB Media Institute, we do have some online trainings, we have some in-person trainings, we have an in-person peer group that we run here in Asheville. So the biggest announcement I'd like to make is if you're in Western North Carolina, on June 21st, we do have a boot camp coming up called Marketing Through Partnerships, Stronger Together. And this is essentially a great class and program put on by my business partner, Justin Bellamy, who's had extreme success on both social media and other parts of digital marketing, including email marketing, with relationship building, partnership building, and influencer relationships. So if you're interested in how you can develop those type of programs and strategies, then when you get a copy of this, you can click on that link that you see right here. It'll take you right to our Eventbrite and you can attend. If you are not located in Nashville, but you're interested in these topics, like I said, we also have a number of online programs. So please feel free to reach out to me or to just check us out online and figure out more information. I'm always a resource available to all of you, so find me on social media, email me if you want to talk about something. I'm always open to the conversation. But I'm super excited to have our featured guest today, Aisha Adams.
Hi, everybody. I'm Aisha Adams. I am the blogger behind Nappy Thoughts, and I am also the founder of Aisha Adams Media, where we help our clients connect, converse, and convert over their target audience. And also, right now, our agency is focused on diversity in marketing, equity in marketing, and inclusion in marketing. And so we have launched Equity Over Everything. So if you are interested in learning more about those things, I'll be here. Ask questions. Check me out across all social media platforms.
Yes, and so when I send this out, we'll also include some links to all the different things that Aisha does. But in addition to being a colleague and somebody who has crossed paths with me numerous times when I'm teaching social media and talking about these subjects, Aisha and I have just become friends. And like I said, I think her perspectives on things are really interesting and different. I think you are always keeping just like sort of your finger on the pulse of what's happening. Like me, you're just really passionate about communicating and connecting with people. And so that's why I invited her today, because I think when we talk about social media and where we're headed, we really need to focus on that human connection piece.
Well, I want to say that Sarah is not just my friend, because my son corrected me the other day when I was like, my friend Sarah. He was like, Sarah is a family friend. So Sarah is not just my friend. She's a friend of my entire family. And I need to say that so that if he sees this, I don't get in trouble.
Awesome, yes, because your son is awesome. He's giving me hope for the future. So I love him. I super appreciate him. So the question that I wanted to start talking about today is something that a lot of people have been bringing up to me in just different conversations. And that is Facebook dead? And where do we think Facebook is headed in the future? And you all can see, I've shared this graphic, which was put out by Convince and Convert and by Edison Research, about how 2018 was really one of the first years we saw a true dip in Facebook use. And their study covers people from 12 and up. So, it's not just adults. It's actually 12-year-olds and all the way up to 70-year-olds or whatever. But I want you to kick us off on this. Like, how are you feeling about Facebook? Do you feel like it's dead? Or, do you feel like it's evolving? What are your thoughts?
So, I always bring my subjects back to hip hop because that's my culture and my roots. And so I don't know if you all remember when Nas said hip hop was dead. And then everybody started saying, hip hop is dead, hip hop is dead. And then it became this thing. And hip hop has only grown since he made that statement. I still feel the same way about Facebook. And I think the decline that we are seeing in Facebook is a good thing right now. Because I feel like when we first started to talk about social media, there was an influx of business owners and people just kind of flocking to Facebook. And then it just crowded the marketplace, crowded the feed with a lot of junk. And so that 5% that we're seeing, some of those are the Russian bots that were like messing up the election. Some of that is that people are really figuring out, like, where do I fit in the whole scheme of social media, right? And they're saying, well, maybe I'm better at Instagram than Facebook. But I don't think that Facebook is dead. Like, I'm still making money off of Facebook. And
Me too.
And I'm still growing my audience on Facebook. I'm still reaching millions of people for $0 a month on Facebook. And I think that this Facebook is dead is a new part of our culture, where we declare something dead and then it begins to breathe new life into what we do. And so we're looking at a 5% increase on a billion quadrillion. So like, what is that, right? We have to account for death. We have to account for the idea that, I don't know if you realize this, but on our phones and on all of our devices, they started tracking the amount of time that we spend. And I know a lot of us are just looking at that and just trying to reduce our overall online social media time. And so I'm hoping that 5% has more to do with people being more conscious and spending time with their kids and praying and sitting down at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And less about people are leaving Facebook for good and Facebook is dead.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to agree with a lot of that. And to your point, Susie, it's okay. Facebook isn't dead, so you're not wasting your time by learning all about it.
No.
And Bonnie, I do think that, a lot of people have this idea that Snapchat has somehow affected this. And I have two kind of things I say about that. I do think younger people are using Snapchat more frequently, but I don't think that we can relate them using Snapchat more to them leaving Facebook in any way. And that's because actually what the data shows is that younger people are just using Facebook differently. So a teenager is going to use Snapchat to hang out with their friends, to broadcast what they're doing on Friday night, to connect in with the influencers that they care about. They're using Facebook to talk to their grandma, to tell their mom where they are, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So we didn't really see that they left Facebook and went to Snapchat. What we saw was that younger people, because they have so many tools at their fingertips, now diversify which tools they're using and for what. So it's almost as if they have certain types of communications that are happening through different channels, right? So I don't think that we can actually relate like an increase in young people on Snapchat to that 5% loss in usage. Right. I actually really believe you're correct on the cultural piece, that there's a number of different things that are causing people to be more thoughtful about what they do. And I do think what maybe is dead is Facebook's kind of monopoly on everything, that they are the one social media platform that ruled it all. That's what's actually dying and going away. People realize they have options. They realize they might not like Facebook and they can use something else and still succeed. So we're just seeing people make better choices.
Right. And I'm hoping that's because of the work that we do when we're out saying, you don't have to be on everything. Be on what you're good at. I'm sure you've seen one of us say that in one of our talks. And I'm also want to say, like, we're looking at usage. What does that mean? Is that the amount of time that people are spending online? Because time is of the essence. And, 5 years ago, it took us longer to figure out how to send that picture, how to do a story. Now we know, like, don't do anything over a minute because people are gonna get their attention is gonna be lost. And so we're just using it differently. And I think this trend of the less usage trend is very good for people who are trying to make money.
Yes.
I think it's a good thing. I think we have now entered that everybody's not going to be doing it now. Everybody's not on it, and you can really claim your space.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you know, one of the things that I really focus on as a professional is the idea that as businesses, as brands, we really have to work to hashtag make the internet a better place.
Yes.
And I feel like that's actually what we're pushing for with social media. Is
Yeah.
There's not so much clutter. There's not so much irrelevant information. There's not so much inaccurate information. And I think at the end of the day, as a whole, as a collective, that benefits us to be more discerning, for there to be more filters, for the system to improve upon the types of content that's there.
So, Susie, I think that if you're doing business to business, LinkedIn is a very good place for that. I think for the work that you do over at LR, that you need to probably be a little bit of everywhere, because on Snapchat, those are the budding students, right? Those are going to be the people who decide, like, I want to go to college, and what are my choices there? And then Facebook is another place, because the moms and grandmas are there, and we're sending our kids college material, and we're saying, this looks like a great college for you. Ooh, look at what they have. So I think people are, like, everything around me is how I see it is marketing, and people are looking everywhere for how to spend their money and how to place their interests. So yes, people do go to Snapchat to look for business, and yes, they go to look for places to eat. It's just not the same. So my big Snapchat story is A, I'm no longer on Snapchat, but B, what's really funny is that when the celebrities get up on Snapchat and they show the restaurants they're in, they're telling you where to eat. When the other college students are on Snapchat and they're sharing what the new shirt that they bought, they're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're doing. They're sharing. It's more content marketing. It's not just in your face sales and advertising, but everything is marketing. Like, people will see this and then they'll be in the mall and they'll say, oh, I saw that on the webinar. This is marketing. You know, Sarah's glasses, this is marketing. It's all marketing.
Well, I want to say, too, just a quick thing about Snapchat. There's two things that I think matter there. One is essentially that I feel when you use Snapchat, you really need one person to become sort of the rep. The person that is dedicated to Snapchat, that is dedicated to building a relationship with the audience. I do think outside of the advertising on Snapchat, it's really hard to just have like a generic brand without a real face to the brand to succeed, because there's so much personal relationship happening there. Right. I also think Snapchat is built on, you're on that platform so you can connect with people that you care about, maybe that you're friends with, that you go to school with, that you're colleagues with. And essentially, there's a lot of word of mouth happening inside of there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's where you want to capitalize on that piece of it. And I think to Bonnie's question about whether or not you should boost on Facebook, there's, you know, a stark contrast to what's going on in the Facebook world, where I can, as a business, have a business page, represent myself as a brand and stand wholeheartedly on the brand, not necessarily put just a one person's face to it. I can actually use the advertising to target different audiences with my products and services and really drill down to those exact audiences and provide content to them or products and services that solve their problems or address their direct needs. So yes, I believe boosting on Facebook can be really valuable, especially if you have content that you want to place in front of specific niche groups or segmented groups of people. But I feel like when you're in the Snapchat world, you're sort of going back to this more like word of mouth, interconnected kind of talk to your friends piece.
I think that's a change, right? Like this change of, it used to be you went to college, you got your degree, you had a specialty, and then you went to work a job. Mm-hmm. And now in this new social media age, it's all about your brand, who you are, who you represent in the world. And so for me, the way that you're explaining Snapchat, Sarah, I see that is that everybody in your office who's an influencer would have a Snapchat, and people are influencers in their work. Even if they may not be business owners or brands within themselves, but because they work for a company, they still carry that company in a way. And so I think the Snapchat is more about personal brand and how you then bring that into the larger social media and marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one of the other things I just want to quickly mention, in case you missed this news story this week, is that a majority of the independent investors in Facebook just voted to dethrone Mark Zuckerberg. So this is a more internal thing that's happening to Facebook that I think is directly related to the future that they have. I think it's interesting that what has happened is Facebook executives, they have 10 votes for every one vote that an individual investor has. Mm-hmm. And so essentially, all these individual independent investors said, we want Mark Zuckerberg to not be the CEO, to not be in charge of everything. And then because he has a majority pretty much across the board, because he gets basically 10 votes for everybody else's one, he can basically vote down that overall vote. So he basically said, no, you can't dethrone me. So they're having an interesting argument about what that means for the structure of the company. We know that WhatsApp, the owners and creators of WhatsApp, the owners and creators of Instagram, all these other companies that Facebook has bought, a lot of those people were integral into the business. They're now leaving. A lot of the executives that have been there for 15 years are now leaving. And so I think part of their future is really going to be understanding that business structure, understanding that they've got one person who's got a majority of the decision-making power in his lap, and that's something I think we can expect to see changing. And that's where I think we're going to see Facebook's different apps and the investments they've made with different things like Messenger, like Facebook Watch, all of these different pieces that they keep playing with that are breaking out into their own realm. I think that's where we're going to see it change. I don't think Facebook's going to die. I think we're going to see it evolve.
Exactly. And, to me, as a person who has worked in business and nonprofit, it's particularly, we see this, right? Especially in nonprofit, we see a lot of times the founders and the starters end up getting fired. I mean, how many jobs have Elon Musk been fired from, things that he started? So this is like typical growth for me. And I think it's interesting that Facebook is just getting here, which speaks to the longevity of where they are, where they're going, and where they've been, because, it didn't take them any time to get rid of a lot of people don't even know that Elon Musk had anything to do with PayPal, because he was gone before it even really hit the streets. And normally this piece of people bailing out and all of this exchange of power, all of that normally happens way earlier in the process. So that's another interesting fact for me.
Yeah. Exactly. So Jason, I saw your question about hosting. I just want to throw out there, just because I work with a lot of different hosts and I've been building websites a long time, I definitely am a fan of Bluehost. I work with WordCamp Asheville. They are a huge supporter of WordCamps across the globe. So I've met a number of their team. I think there's a lot of great hosting companies to choose from, and Bluehost is definitely, I would say, in my top 10 list of hosts that I love. So I would definitely check them out. My other favorite website hosts are SiteGround. I particularly like them because they really deal with page speed. So I'm an SEO expert and I focus a lot on usability, and I think page speed is important. And so SiteGround might be another one. And then I'm also a big fan of a hosting company called Green Geeks. So I just want to throw that out. That's sort of off topic from social media, but I
met Bluehost last year, I believe, at WordCamp Asheville. And they are just amazing people. They were like, oh, we can totally do that for you. I was like, what? They were like, oh, we can handle that. They are really sensitive and great people. And I really like them. So
I would say Bluehost is definitely, in the open source sort of WordPress world, they're a big community player. They give a lot of money to help really build the open source community, and that's why I think they stand out against a lot of other hosting companies. But continuing our conversation about social media, and I think this works into what we just talked about, is things are kind of evolving. I think the way that we use social media is evolving because culturally it has to, and the technology has to sort of serve the culture to a certain extent. So there's a big conversation right now about, our stories the future of social media? And do you believe that eventually news feeds will be a thing of the past?
I don't think so. And here's why. I think they will look differently. But a lot of times, I think one reason why I love to hang out with Sarah is because she's reading all the articles. I'm talking to all the people because I'm more of a base builder, community organizer is my background. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, where are they getting these numbers from? Like, who doesn't use the news feed in Facebook? Like, my mom doesn't know how to look me up on Facebook. She has to wait until it comes to the feed, right? And my mom is not even 60. So I don't know what the 60s, 70s, 80s-year-olds are doing, but they need the news feed too. Now, will it look different? Will it start to put our stories in the feed? Maybe, because you can't even get a story in the feed right now. So it's very interesting for people to say the news feed is dead because old people don't care about what's dead or alive. They just have to get around social media the best way that they can. And my mom is like, I know that the show comes out on Monday and I'm just waiting for it. And I'm like, Mom, all you have to do is go to the page. She's like, yeah, I'm waiting for it. I'm like, Mom, go to the page. No, I'm waiting for it. And so most people, not just my mom, but most people are waiting for things to come to them. And the feed is how we generally receive things. Yeah. So it's gonna have to have a feed some kind of way. It's gonna have to show us, or people will forget to come look at your story.
Yeah. I definitely think so. I would agree with that. I don't think the news feed is going to totally ever go away. I think there's a couple key things that are going to happen. And I want to encourage everybody. I've included a lot of resources. You all know I'm a typical teacher. I'm like, do your homework after this call. So you can click on all this different information. But if you clicked on one thing to read it, it would be this Mobile Monkey article called Facebook Newsfeed is Dead. And I don't agree with all of the things that he concludes, but I do agree with the things that he's paying attention to. Yeah. I think I would draw a different conclusion. And it was a really interesting article, but I think one of the things that came to me was, one, when we see people on their phones, what are they doing? They're scrolling the feed. That's literally what we're doing.
Yeah, looking for something good.
I think most people are still using it. I think what we're going to see is a couple things. One, I think artificial intelligence is going to get smarter. Mm-hmm. And I think the AI that runs the feeds is going to continue to really learn from each of us what we want in the feed and personalize it at a deeper level. I also think they're probably going to increase on all platforms the tools with which you filter the feed. So, because I think it's interesting that you have some people who really only want a very small number of things in their feed. Mm-hmm. Then you have people like me who really enjoy seeing new things that I've never heard about in my feed, and I want that. So I think we're going to see those filters kind of really evolve in a lot of ways. Because I think what we're realizing is everybody wants that personalization. So between filtering and AI, I think we're going to get a lot more choices in what our feed contains. Yeah. So I see in the future that I'm going to get to decide if stories are in my feed or not. Yeah. I think I'm going to get to decide if I see ads or not. I think I'm going to get to decide if I see mostly videos or if I see Facebook Watch or if I, and they're always testing the feed pretty much constantly on all platforms.
And I'm really going to be excited to see what they do with the difference between a like and a follow. Yeah. Isn't Susie hilarious? The story of my wife. Scrolling.
Exactly. How many of I sit in my bed at the end of the day and I scroll the Instagram feed looking at tiny dogs. I mean, that's a real thing.
I am like working on the bad habit of time someone says something to me and I get bored, start scrolling. Because it's like I'm talking to you and I'm done with the conversation and I just start my husband's like, that's the rudest thing you could do to someone.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm working on it. So that's the story of my life too. Yeah. I think a good Instagram story for a real estate company is show me the houses. Let me see the kitchen. Let me see the bathroom. Let me see the closets. I'm a lover of closets. So I think for Instagram, those stories would be showing more of the property. Is one thing. And then one thing I don't understand, or what I want to see more real estate companies do, is explain to us how to buy houses, because we don't do that. And it's one of the things that's not being done is that you can't just show me what you want to sell. You have to teach me. I have this new thing I'm working on that says your content should make me learn, laugh, or cry. And if you have a beautiful closet, your girl will cry. I will cry if the shoe racks are nice and the mirrors are just right. I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to melt. Mm-hmm. Right? And if you can attach funny stories to the houses about like how they were built and things that happened. So like when my husband's family got their house built, someone on a brick literally wrote, Mike and Susie forever and like put a heart on it, and that brick is in the house that they built. So it's really interesting. And then like, so that is something that will make you laugh. Like, who would do something so silly, right? And then things that make you learn. And so when people are on real estate sites, they want to buy houses. And some of them don't know how. They don't know what the first step is, second step, third step. They're not sure if they have the credit. They don't know how to properly look for a house. And I feel like a lot of real estate companies miss the mark of being a guide or educator.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that. And Bonnie, to answer your question, would you just do the house or have the person showing it? I think actually that's just a personal preference. Some people do not like to be on camera. And so if you don't like to be on camera, you don't have to be. You can be the voice behind what you're showing.
Right.
And if you're more comfortable and you want to make that personal connection by putting yourself on screen, then you can do that. But I think that really comes down to just each individual person. There's no right or wrong,
right,
because both of them can work, especially if the information that you're sharing is exactly what Aisha said and it's valuable or entertaining or both. And I think blogs are great, and blogs are excellent for, especially building up your website authority and having credible content. And there's always going to be a percentage of people who read, but I think a lot of social media audiences, they want to engage directly on the social media. So I don't want to click off of Facebook. I don't want to have to click to your Instagram profile and then click the link in the bio.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to click away from what I'm doing. And so what I would think about is if you're writing a lot of great blogs with educational information, then how can you actually supplement that with stories that support the same topic or the same question or the same just story in general? Because I think that's where you start to have a really clear content marketing strategy. And you're actually reinforcing the same information across your different channels.
As a blogger, I want to say I love blogging. I love the art of sitting down and writing something to people and thinking that they're going to read it. And I have a very large audience. But at the end of the day, the blog is the main entree, and I need to get the starter, the appetizer, those other things, the drink, the pre-drink, and the invitation that comes with dinner before on social media to get people to sort of move into the blog. And so even if you are doing things on the blog, if you're like, oh, I'm going to show you how to buy a house on the blog, you need to, at least make me think I can get a house as an appetizer on the Facebook.
And I do want to invite you, I saw that request for me to look over some things and offer some feedback. So if you could just email me to remind me of that, that would be great. And I'm glad to take a look at what you're doing for the lives that you're doing and the blog and kind of just give you some opinions and thoughts on that.
But you know that Sarah will be at work camp this weekend, and she's just posted on her personal page that you can submit your stuff for free and get it looked at.
Yeah, although unfortunately WordCamp's sold out. So you can't buy tickets at this point.
Too late. Don't ever miss another WordCamp again.
But I'm definitely glad, like I said, Bonnie, if you'll just email me to do that. And then I see this question, and I'm not sure, it looks like it's coming from KB, so I'm not exactly sure exactly who that is, but the Instagram question: I have an Instagram business account, 1,500 followers. People click on our bio but don't follow through to our website link. Possible reasons: what info should be in your company Instagram bio? Should it be basic company info or a teaser type bio to create curiosity to get them to click through to the website?
So
take it.
Here's the thing. This is the trick to your bio. I'm going to give you the lowdown thing. So number one, I don't look for Instagram to necessarily give me conversions over to my website as much, because it's going to have a lower conversion rate because it's too many steps to get people to do the thing. I see the picture, then I have to read, then I have to go back up and click. By then the baby started crying. My husband's come home. I got to go to work, like all those things. Also, you can use your bio space. The best way to get people to come to that space is this really cool idea, right? So are you offering value in your bio, or are you just telling people to click on your website? Are you saying, click here for a free download of blah, 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 that engages people in your company, or do you just have your website? Because nobody just wants to visit your website for free. Unfortunately, we just don't do that anymore. The world has changed. And so a really good thing to do is to make sure that in your bio, you're offering value, and that the link that you're asking people to click is not just to visit your site. Are they going to find a free video that's going to give them more information about your industry? Are they going to be able to download a chart, an ebook? Are they going to be able to get something to take with them? Why should they go to your website? If they're looking at your Instagram, they're going to see the best that you have to offer because it's in pictures, and that's how we understand the world. So my suggestion to you is in your bio, you might say, like, say for example, you have a real estate company. You may say top 10 houses under this budget, or you might say, so you download this if they don't want that, or 10 ways to prepare to get ready to buy a house, or 10 tips for house buying. Now I want to click on that, but just to go to realestatecompany.com is not intriguing for me, especially not enough to get off Instagram where all my celebrities are, my friends and family. It's really a distraction.
Yeah, I would just reinforce that, one of the things I really try to tell people to do with their Instagram kind of profile is to change that link and change the description. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't just expect to have the same thing up there for 6 months.
Right.
And basically what you're telling people is click over to our website and look around when you have time. Or click over to our website and just surf general information because you think we're awesome. Nobody has time for that, right? So that's where it's like, give that really clear call to action of why are they clicking over to the website, and you might see that you're able to get more people to hit the profile and then click on that link because they know there's an incentive or there's a reason, or they're going to get an answer to their question or something.
Right. And if you're finding that you don't have a lot of conversions over there, my suggestion to you is figure out if that's the place where you should be. Because a big thing about Instagram for me is that it's mostly about visibility. Even on my bigger sites that I manage, Instagram always has the lowest conversion rates. And that's just honest.
Absolutely no. And Instagram does not make it easy to click through to a website. So I feel like if your ultimate goal is website traffic, I'm not always sure Instagram is the greatest place to be focusing your energy.
Yeah.
Because outside of the advertising, there's really no way to get that immediate click through the same way that I could get it if I was on Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest, right?
Yeah.
Where it's actually built for people to click directly to the website. So I think you have to be aware that that's how Instagram functions. They're trying to create engagement inside of their system, not necessarily drive people to your website. They're trying to build your brand awareness.
And so here's another thing I want you all to remember too, like Facebook actually owns Instagram. So to me, the best way to get people to click your link is to actually boost your post in Facebook and say show on Instagram. And then you will get more conversions. So instead of putting it on Instagram and saying, oh, this is my picture, click on my link, when you are boosting on Facebook, you can say, share this ad on Instagram. And I find that I get more engagement that way, more click-through links that way, than when I'm sharing directly through Instagram. And so Facebook is not looking to, they have a function for Instagram and a function for Facebook, and sort of understanding what that function is going to be really helpful to you. I think that a lot of business owners, a lot of artists, a lot of people are distracted by Instagram because of the pretty pictures. It's almost like a dog and pony show. Like, oh, my pictures are here so pretty and I really enjoy looking at pictures. So I'm choosing to use Instagram, but Instagram is not really for that. It is for visibility.
Yes. And so just to go back to that question about boosting posts, I mean, this is really the value of boosting a post because you can place that post on Instagram and Facebook. So we've got a number of questions coming through. So I want to go ahead and talk about these. Ashley, your question, what do you think of things like Linktree, where it stores multiple links in the bio URL? You might have a different opinion. I'm going to tell you, I think having too many options for people is actually a detraction. Mm-hmm. I think people are overwhelmed with the number of choices they have. And so I'm always going to lean on, let's have a campaign where we try to get people to do one thing, and then we'll run another campaign and try to get them to do the second thing, and run another campaign and try to get them to do the third thing. So I'm actually personally not a huge fan of using things like Linktree to have a number of different clickable links in the bio.
I just don't think that people are going to play. I don't. Okay, so I'm on Instagram. One of my favorite Instagram accounts is David Banner. I think like he's saucy hot, he's smart, and he's always has something to talk about. So I'm watching David Banner. I'm not about to click in your link. I'm like ready for the next David Banner picture. So if I do find your stuff interesting, I'm gonna be like 1 in 10. And then you're asking me again to leave Instagram. And I, again, don't think that's what Facebook intended, because by now, if that's what they intended, they would have fixed it. Mm-hmm. And they don't intend for it to be that way. And I think they've studied our trends and they've studied what we're doing. And so the way that I like to use Instagram is for inspiration. So when I did my Vegan Curious book, I would put pictures of all of the foods that I ate. I would put like some of the ingredients or the place that I ate at, and then I would put I had my link to my book in the bio. And I never changed my link out. And the only people who did it were people who were really serious about buying the book, because they just really wanted to see the pretty foods and be inspired. This Instagram is really for dreamers and thinkers, and it's really about creating the visual. And you mentioned something the other day when we were hanging out about how people need to see something 6 times. And so for me, I feel like Instagram is your 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, because like I said, I think Instagram is really building brand awareness, people knowing your name, people falling in love with the brand, more than it is sometimes generating originally that conversion or sale piece.
Yeah.
It's like eventually it leads to that, but you've got to actually, it's almost as if Instagram often sits at the top of the funnel. Unless you're paying for the ads. Yeah. And just to clarify what Bonnie and Elisa are asking about here. One, Elisa, when we're talking about, basically boosting posts or putting things onto the Facebook ad manager and then having them also on Instagram, we're not talking about organically sharing from one to the other. I actually am against that. I don't think you should necessarily regurgitate anything from Facebook directly to Instagram or otherwise. I think they're 2 different communities. You can obviously have the same images and topics going out, but I think you have to create the content for those communities. But in the ad manager, I can actually put together an ad that runs on both Facebook and Instagram simultaneously and gives people the chance to click on a call to action, go to my website and do something or buy something. And Bonnie, to your point, I don't quite understand the question, but I think what you're asking about is what type of photos or content can you have in those ads. The truth is, you can run not just a photo ad on Instagram. You can run a video ad, you can run a carousel ad, you can run a number of different types of ads. So you are not limited to just a photo when you're running ads on both of those platforms.
And to Sarah's point about a campaign, you should be running at least two or three different types of ads. So the first ad may be a picture ad, and the second ad may be a carousel ad, and the third ad may be actually a video ad. Someone asked, do you recommend changing your bios frequently? I don't think you should have to change your bios frequently on anywhere but Instagram if you're trying to get conversions. Exactly. But if you're not worried about conversions and you're worried about visibility, then I would just put my freebie there, right? So if you have a freebie that you're giving out, I try to change my freebie like once every 6 months or so. And so if you have a freebie that you're giving out, put it up there. But if you're using Instagram the correct way, like, it should be easy, because you're just sharing testimonials, sharing customer experiences, sharing pictures from your events, sharing your pictures of your products, sharing pictures of your customers. And you're not looking for Instagram to be an income source, but a part of that 6-point touch that Sarah describes that's needed.
Yeah, and then just to answer that last question that was coming through, because I think I already answered this, but I want to make sure you heard it. I do believe that when you're running Instagram and Facebook, you can use some of the same images. Sometimes you can use the same video content if it's short enough to fit on Instagram. Sometimes you can, maybe send a story over to Facebook from Instagram if you're using Facebook stories as well, and you have your Instagram business and Facebook business connected. But I think overall, especially when you're writing the text that goes with a post, what you don't want to do is have them automated from one to the other. So I just want to be clear. I'm really against automation. I can explain
it a little bit better what Sarah's saying. So your day-to-day post should not go from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. Like, it shouldn't do that. And so your campaigns are a different story because they're targeted. You've decided what you're going to do with them. You know who they're going to go to. You know what your outcome is going to be. So while I might take a picture today of me and Sarah here, and I'm going to put that on my Instagram. And I'm going to say, hi, it's me and Sarah, right? On my Facebook, I'm going to use the same image. I might have a longer story. I might have it's going to be a different thing. It's not going to be just look at us. On Instagram, all it really can be is just look at us. Look at how pretty we look.
Yeah.
Right? On Facebook, it can be like, hey, Sarah and I have done 3 events. Which event have you attended? What did you learn? And then we can get a whole bunch of comments and start a whole conversation about social media and the impacts of social media, because we've hung out like 3 times this week.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Bonnie, there is not a 1 through 6 touch point. That's just an example that Aisha is using. It is just simply that on average, it takes 6 touch points for somebody to take an action. So they have to hear about you more than once before they're going to do anything. So that's why sometimes you can't run Facebook and Instagram ads to people that have never heard of your brand and expect them to buy the first time they see the ad. They won't do that, right? They want to make sure that they have basically, heard of you. Maybe they've seen a friend that's talked about you. Maybe they have looked at your website once before. They've looked at your Instagram before. And then suddenly, after 6 different kind of touch points on average, they're going to engage with you at a deeper level and maybe convert in some way. So that's really what it's about. There's no 1 through 6 that works for everybody. It's different every time.
But
that's the customer journey.
Yeah, but as a business owner, you are thinking like, how are people experiencing my brand? How are they getting to know me? Am I just always asking people to buy? Like, I think Sarah and I were having a conversation about Twitter and about how people will just drop their sales thing on Twitter. Like, they're never on Twitter, but it's like, buy my book. And it's like they're screaming into an empty room, buy my book, right? Yeah. And then because they're not ever engaging or doing anything else on there. And so you have to introduce the book. People have to know the cover. They have to know the author. They have to know why they should buy the book. If you're going to connect it to a social responsibility initiative, they have to understand the social responsibility initiative. They have to understand the impact of what the book means to the community. And then you ask them to buy the book, and you will get better sales.
Yeah, Cassie, we're going to keep moving through. Again, there's just some discussion topics. So, and we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. So I'm going to move through these things. And then, again, we will stay on for some additional questions if you have them.
I gotta drop the mic.
Yeah.
It was like
yes, you did. You did. So the 2 things I want to talk about in the next few minutes is Facebook Watch and Instagram TV an indicator of where we're headed? I know that Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and other platforms are really trying to take a lead in how we engage with shows and series in the future. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this just because you've started the Asheville View. Mm-hmm. And so, how do you see these things playing into, TV as we've known it in the past?
Okay, so again, always relating it back to hip hop culture. Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, started the Red Table Talk. And I was like, I know she's making some money on here. And I didn't understand how she was making her money. So I had to do my research. And a lot of people don't know this, but your Facebook can be monetized just like your YouTube. And so if you have 10,000 followers or more, and you have videos that are at least 3 minutes long, and you have, it's another indicator. What's the other indicator? Do you know? 1 minute video, 3 minute videos, 10,000 followers, and I'm going to look it up, but you can monetize your videos just like YouTube. And so I didn't know that my page was already monetized. So my blogger page was already monetized because I had 11,000 fans. But the only thing I wasn't doing was making the 3 minute videos. And so with the 3 minute videos, the way that it works is if you have 3 minute videos and those videos have 30,000 watch minutes, you get a check. So you could do, let's just say you have 100 videos and each video gets 1,000 watch minutes over the course of the month. You would get a check if you had the 10,000 fans.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, that's how YouTube works. People who have millions of YouTube followers or YouTube subscribers and are putting out videos on a regular basis, the ads are being placed within those videos, and then they are getting a check for basically the viewership that they're providing those ads. So there are definitely people that are on YouTube that have huge followings that make six figures. Justin and I have talked a few times about, you can look that up on Google and find out who the top moneymakers are on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that monetization is something that's happening across the board on Facebook as well. So of course, Jada Pinkett Smith, it's easy for her to jump into that pool because people already know her and she's famous, and she could almost immediately meet the criteria. And the numbers do have to be pretty high. So that monetization level doesn't happen until you've really, I think, built the following that you really want to have.
And so you just have to be in good standing with Facebook. So it's similar to YouTube, but YouTube is actually much easier because I think you only need like 1,000 followers and like 2,500 watch minutes or something like that. But it is definitely possible. And so once I figured out, oh, this is how she's making her money, it was a no-brainer for me to say, okay, let's try the Asheville View on Facebook, because it's pretty easy to get 10, 20,000 followers on Facebook if you're consistent and you are following the trends, and that you're engaging and you're being good to people. It's really cool to grow an audience that way, and you can build community. So I studied her model. I watched what she did. The first thing she did was she put the show out, and then she built a group around the show so that she could drop that in the group. Her group has over 100,000 followers in it alone, and the way that they keep the group healthy is they keep discussions going on in the group all month long. And so just watching her do that from her home with in front of a table was really inspiring to me. And I felt like this would be a good place for me to start. And so that's why we chose it. And I think that with Vimeo, with Facebook, with YouTube, with the places that are monetizing the content, it is just a win-win for business owners. I mean, I got a check from YouTube last week for like $200, and I hadn't posted anything for like 9 months before the Asheville View. And I'm like, I really appreciate getting that little bit of income.
And so we'll have to bring you back to talk about that, because I want to answer this last question. And then I'm going to look at the chat so we can answer some questions as we wrap up. But really quick, live streaming tips for people who are trying to break into that, especially brands. Let's focus on the top 3 maybe that you would give for doing good live streams.
Strategy, consistency, quality.
Awesome.
What you got?
I think I agree with all of that. More specifically, maybe if I dropped into the strategy conversation, it would be, really sit down and plan out what you want to do with your live streams. And then if you can, think about how you can really produce them on a consistent basis. So I think when we talk about Instagram TV and Facebook Watch, a lot of people that are moving into that space have already been doing great live streams that are regularly scheduled programming. And kind of now their next level up is to go into that more production space and produce something that can be on those sort of longer, long form channels, like IGTV and Facebook Watch. I also think that it's important to just really get comfortable with being yourself. I think in brands with businesses, we really struggle because we don't feel comfortable putting ourselves out there the way that live streaming is sort of imperfect.
Yeah.
Right? And so I feel like we really have to get comfortable with the fact that a lot of people, if you have something useful, valuable, funny, entertaining to say, people don't need it to be perfect. They need it to be relevant.
Right. And on places like YouTube, it's more about the sound than the video. So watch your sound quality, watch your lighting. Quality does matter because it helps us see the picture better. We are visual people. Less words, more pictures. I don't know how we got here, but we are here.
Yeah, exactly. And Bonnie, I see your question just really quick that I want to kind of let Aisha weigh in on, which is basically she's saying, they have been using Facebook Live all the time. They're in the real estate business. But they've had a hard time getting followers on YouTube. And I want to just say really quickly that I think YouTube works for some people and not others.
Yeah.
And if your community is a Facebook community, which I believe Western North Carolina, Facebook definitely dominates at a higher level, then you have to meet those people where they're at.
Yeah.
And not expect them to go to YouTube because you want to be there. Yeah. So I think it's okay if you've worked on YouTube, you're repurposing content there, trying to build subscribers and it's not working, that you look at the other tools where you're getting the results that you want and focus your energy there. Yeah. What do you think about YouTube?
So I'm going to cover both of these things. things about the decline in viewership on Facebook and on YouTube. So with YouTube, that is a strategy piece, right? You don't, for me, whatever you're putting on live on Facebook should be stored on your monetized YouTube channel anyway. Because generally when people go to YouTube for different reasons than they come to Facebook. People come to Facebook to be social. People come to YouTube to learn. So if you have really valuable content that teaches a subject and you put it on Facebook, after time, it will build up. So I have a lot of videos on Facebook, on YouTube that have hundreds of thousands of views, and they have very significant views on YouTube too, because they answer questions. So your YouTube, if you're just talking about community on YouTube, nobody's going to just look up the community, because the people who live in the community aren't going to look up the community, and only very few people are going to actually move into the community over time. But if you're teaching people real skills that translate across your industry, like how to pick a community to live in, then that's the kind of thing that you would put on YouTube and Facebook, and over time it will get the viewership, because there are going to be hundreds of millions of people who are going to buy a house for the first time, and they're going to need to know how to pick a community.
I do want to say YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, owned by the first and largest search engine in the world, which is Google. So YouTube does function much more like a search engine than Facebook does. Whereas Facebook functions, I feel, much more as a community kind of place where people are communicating. And what about that decline in Facebook Live viewership?
So I think that what Facebook is becoming is even more community oriented. And so if they're like, one of the things I want to tell you is that if you've never read the book Freakonomics, you really should, to understand that these numbers are really great, but at the end of the day, they're just numbers, and we can use numbers to tell stories and to make people feel and think things. If you have a strong community, then your viewership should be increasing. I released the Asheville View 3 weeks ago, and it just made AVL today, and we largely released it on Facebook. Everything else was a secondary release, because we have a Facebook community and we are engaged in that Facebook community. So stop looking all like just because USA Today or somebody says something about numbers, that has nothing to do with you. They are talking about big brands who are just looking at numbers from this really high standpoint, and they're not even paying attention to what's happening in your local area. When I'm in Atlanta, everybody's on Instagram. That's the only reason why I have Instagram. Because when I went to Atlanta, everybody was like, IG me. All of the celebrities do Instagram. And so all of the journalists and all the news people do Twitter. And so you don't have to worry about those numbers as much. You should be on top of the trends so that you would know that, hey, we're moving to live stories. I want to break out in this and be a leader in this. But you also need to focus on what's happening in your numbers and what's happening in real time with you. Yeah. My numbers in Facebook and YouTube right now are increasing because I'm doing the work.
And I think the truth is you have to give the audiences what they want.
Yeah.
So it's really about looking at that data. All right, so I know some people have got to log off already, but there's one thing I want us to end on. And let's just each give our sort of one thing that we care about. There are a lot of trends that are happening in social media these days. Some of them, like you said, are bigger trends. We kind of have to wait to see how they play out. Some of them are things that get me really passionate and excited. So I want to just say that one of my personal favorite trends for businesses and social media that I get really excited about is really that real-time content is moving to the front. That being in the moment with people, sharing your expertise, sharing the value of your products and services, and bringing people into that real-time experience. I'm excited about that. I'll be honest, the reason I'm excited about that is because I'm lazy and I don't like video editing, and I don't like having to spend all this time making everything perfect. I studied improv for a long time, so I'm one of those people who wants to jump on stage and is say stuff and then leave. I don't want to memorize things. So for me personally, that's my most exciting thing. I'm social media is moving into a real-time world. All of us need to be considering how we put real-time content into our strategy and get more comfortable with it. I'm excited about that challenge. What's your number one trend?
My number one trend is challenges. Right? So when challenges first came out, they were stupid. People were doing stupid stuff, Tide Pods, passing out. But what I'm really interested in is how businesses and nonprofits can use challenges to make the world a better place. Hashtag make the internet a better place. I love right now that we're seeing Asheville Greenworks in our immediate area is doing the Flip Your Lid challenge with recycling and teaching the world more about recycling. I love that we can take this pop culture thing and make it real and make it fun for the youth and adults alike. So challenges are my thing. I want to see more small businesses, more nonprofits do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's I think we're going to see a lot more of that interactive kind of piece come out, because again, it's about really making those connections with people. If you can get them to engage with things that are interactive like that, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And just for this last question here, basically it was about LinkedIn. So what's the best source or way to learn how to use or understand LinkedIn? So first, I'm just going to give a shout out to myself, which is the JB Media Institute. We talk a lot about LinkedIn.
You're a local celebrity, Sarah Benoit.
So I think, there's some great things going on in town where you can learn about LinkedIn. Online, though, I will say LinkedIn has actually put out some of the greatest content around how to use their platform themselves. So if you've never looked up the Sophisticated Marketers Guides, that is one of my favorite things that LinkedIn ever created. They have it's basically called the Sophisticated Marketer's Guide to LinkedIn, and then there's one called the Sophisticated Marketer's Guide to Thought Leadership. And I really appreciate both of those pieces of content. There's a lot of different content around those two big sort of fat ebooks. So there's videos related to that stuff. There's shorter content that you can read. But I feel like within LinkedIn, if you actually just go to Google and type in like how to learn how to use LinkedIn or LinkedIn tutorials, the ones that I like the most are actually the ones that come directly from their platform. Because when Microsoft bought the platform, so Microsoft owns LinkedIn, if you didn't know, they actually put a lot of time into making the platform easier to use. They made their mobile app way more fun and interactive. They added a lot more of the publishing tools that you see there where you can sort of blog directly on LinkedIn. So I would just encourage you to really use the different resources that they offer directly. And like I said, you can go to Google and literally put in Sophisticated Marketer's Guide or LinkedIn tutorials or LinkedIn for Business, and you will basically get those sort of parts of the LinkedIn site that give you all those resources.
And my favorite thing about LinkedIn is that it's guided. So when you're filling out your profile, it'll tell you if your profile is all-star. It'll tell you if you need to do more. And so it's really hands-on too and really interactive with you.
Awesome. So I want everybody to be able to get back to work. Thanks for the extra 5 minutes because I wanted to make sure that we answered all your questions today. I know social media is a huge topic, and so it's easy to get lost. Hopefully I will be able to bring Aisha back in the future and we can do this again in the next few months so that we look at what's happened in 2019 overall and how we can prepare for 2020. But thank you all for being here. Like I said, you will get an email with a copy of this recording along with a copy of the slides. And if you have additional questions, we're glad to stay here and continue this conversation. But to the rest of you, have a great day. And thanks so much, Bonnie. Thanks so much, Jason. Glad you could make it, Wendy Lou, as always.
So nice to meet everybody. Look me up. Say hi on social media. I'm out there.
Awesome. And as I usually say in most of my classes, never stop learning and make sure that you're making connections with people so you can have these conversations. There's nothing worse than social media in a silo. So make sure that you make friends, find Aisha and I on social media, use some of the resources that I've linked to, and have a great day. Thanks, y'all. Bye.